I am Tyrant, and this is Screen Tested. Welcome back to Screen Tested. I am your host Tyrant, and in today's season finale we're going to be taking a look at something very, very special from the God of War franchise, and that is the Blades of Chaos. Now here at Screen Tested we take things and test them from movies, pop cultures, TV shows, try to recreate them in the real world, make them practical, and see if they actually work. Now the Blades of Chaos are very complicated, they are very dangerous, but I am willing to take upon this challenge because I'm a big fan of the God of War franchise. Now just so we're all on the same page, the God of War franchise is very simple. You have the main character, Kratos. He is betrayed by Ares and tricked into slaughtering his own wife and daughter, and then betrayed again by his father Zeus. So he does what any good Spartan would do, and destroys the entire pantheon of the Olympian gods. He then travels to Midgard, finds another wife, has another kid, and everything seems to be happily ever after. That is until inevitably he pisses off those gods, but he ends up killing them all the same. Now along the entire journey Kratos has these, the Blades of Chaos, quite literally inseparable from him. Now these things are particularly gnarly because not only are they made from primordial flame, but they are very useful at slaying gods, and not only that, they are projectile weapons. Now these things can be used in melee, they have fire, they have a whole bunch of things, but for the most part, he used these as a ranged weapon. So we're going to be putting them all through their paces, trying to test and recreate one-to-one as much as humanly possible, because I'm not Kratos and I'm not a god, so, I'm going to try what's possible in the mortal realm. But let's get started. I am very excited for this one. Why don't we have a little bit of a recap of season 1 of Screen Tested? We've covered things like Thor's hammer, Captain America's shield, Wolverine claws, the Castlevania whip. We've done a lot. However, all of these pale in comparison to the Blades of Chaos. They are on a completely different level of not only danger, but skill required. And the reason I know this is because I've actually kind of done the Blades of Chaos before. Over a year ago at this point, I had a look at the Blades of Chaos on the Shadowversity channel, and not only did it teach me some things for today's episode, but it also, ever since then, I have been wanting to revisit them because I felt like we didn't do them justice. We had ones made out of foam, with plastic chains and, plywood, all for safety reasons, perfectly valid. But I've wanted to revisit it and make them out of metal and real chain, and I wanted to set them on fire and swing them around. I'm normal, I swear I'm normal. Anyways, so this is kind of like a response video to, well, myself, I guess, because past me is an idiot. Now, previously exploring the Blades of Chaos a little bit has given me a little bit more knowledge than I usually would going to a project like this. Like, for example, something that I want to make sure that I do is actually alternate the lengths of the chains. And the reason why is last time they got all tangled and stuff like that. So I think maybe having one a little bit shorter and one a little bit longer might be able to mitigate this issue a little bit. On the issue of length of chain, I want to make the chains a lot shorter so that they are more useful and I can keep things flowing rather than them just hitting the ground and not being able to be used. And things like this I learned from that previous experience. Anyways, I think that covers everything that I've got to say for the moment. Let's get started with the build process, because this one, oh boy, this one's going to be a big one. I'm going to be going with my plan A. Now my plan A is simple. I'm going to fire up my DIY forge out the back and melt down some scrap aluminum that I have. So after a full day in heat next to a very, very hot forge, wearing full safety equipment, and after many, many failed attempts, I finally got 2 successful pours, meaning I was able to have 2 Blades of Chaos, rough Blades of Chaos that is. And this is about the point where I decided, you know what, F this, I'm gonna go with my plan B. And my plan B was a simple one: spend money on the internet and buy some blades. I mean, it just makes sense. It's more cost effective than spending like a full week trying to make these blades with time that I do not have. So I promptly ordered them off the interwebs and they arrived. And that's where I tried to pull them apart and modify them for today's episode. And they had rat tail tangs, and I think I actually threw up in my mouth. Did I just waste $300? So plan B was a stupid plan and I wasted money on it. because I can't use them, because you can't use rat tail tangs for this sort of thing. So everything is going exactly as I planned right now. Back to plan A. And that's when I grabbed those rough sand-casted blades. And if I had any hope of getting this project done in any sort of reasonable time frame, I would have to use one of my most hated tools that runs on my pure fear. And that is the angle grinder, because of course it will make short work of these blades. After I got the blades looking presentable, this is when I needed to attach the wicks, which will hold the fuel, which will allow me to set them on fire. But I need a way to attach them, so I used a fire-resistant silicone, which should hopefully be able to resist the temperatures that the blades will get to while they're on fire without crumbling and falling off. After that's done, I drilled a couple of holes, put the D-shackles on, and then put the chains on. And then I attached the chains to some leather braces that will go on my forearms, so I'm not just putting the chains directly onto my, my arms and breaking bones and that sort of stuff. But with all that out of the way, that is pretty much the build process in a nutshell. Why don't we get to some beautiful B-roll shots before we take these things out to be tested. Before we get to the really dangerous stuff, why don't we start with some simpler stuff to see what these things are capable of in terms of their destructive capabilities. So, I have someone here with me to give me a hand, because he helped me out with the other video, and that is Nate.
Why did you...
Nate Doggy, Nate Dog.
Don't call me that. Why did you get me to walk up the hill with him? He could have parked closer.
Tony appreciates it. So, we are going to be, first up we'll do some throws, just see how these things fare against Tony as he is, and then we'll have some more destructive mediums. You can even throw some stuff at me.
Oh, I like that. I do like coming here because I get to throw things at you for a change. I love it. It's great. Sounded
a bit too enthused there, mate. But anyways, let's see how these go in terms of their destructive capabilities and see what they do to Tony.
Okay, I'm gonna walk back over this way.
All right, so I have them kind of at full slack, but not really. I need a little bit of grip on the forearms, but let's just throw them.
Ah!
Oh yeah. Okay. That wasn't bad, to be honest. Kept it under control, one of them at least. Did you want to stand in for Tony? You got the same haircut. Oh, okay, all right. I am Kratos. Be the blade. Be the blade. Perhaps my opinion on these things has changed since the last time I've done this. Stay with me, Nate. Chest compressions, chest compressions. Oh, wait, this is Tony. Oh, this is Tony. Yeah, I don't need to worry about it. That was incredibly effective.
Well, yes.
But seriously though, I was able to throw these, they were able to hit the targets, I was able to do it with 2 of them. That's a bit more surprising than I thought it would be.
I still feel like you're at a disadvantage to throw your weapon away, but
I'm not throwing it away.
You're kind of getting it back. The question is how solid are they? If I actually throw something at you to get a little bit of a revenge. What?
Since I destroyed Tony with my raw power of the Blades of Chaos, why don't I try some coconuts? So I've got 3 here, let's just try and get through them all. The Blades of Chaos are finally ready to be tested. They are made out of aluminum. They have their wicks so they can be set on fire. And as you can see, I am strapped into them with chains, baby. All right, so I am going to attempt to do a couple of move sets here. Now I'm just going to For the first part, we'll do a little bit of practice, just see how it feels in the hand, how terrifying it is, and then we'll work our way up and add the fire a little bit later. So let's just start with some simple stuff first. All right, so let's throw the Chaos Blades a bit, see how they feel in the hand. Okay. I feel like hitting the ground wasn't part of it, but I felt like I had a bit of control with that. Well, that's a problem. That feels pretty good. Not only that, speed, power, and I feel like I've got just the right amount of weight as well. No. One at a time, no problem at all. Two at a time, you're just asking for trouble, to be honest. You know what? I think that's enough practice. You hear that? You hear that? I think that's the montage incoming. Destroy my enemies, and my life will be yours. No. I think that's all the swinging around of these blades that I can handle for one day. I am tired.
You only swung like giant pieces of aluminum around for like 2.5, 3 hours?
Yeah, in heat, wearing like 10 layers. But I have got Nate here with me, as you saw earlier, because, well, this is kind of a follow-on, I guess is the best way to describe it, to an earlier video. I say earlier, a year ago
It
or
was
over.
a year ago. Oh, no, about a year ago.
Yeah, no, it was a bit over now, I think, that we did on the Chaos Blades of Chaos. And we had controversial thoughts.
We did.
And I wanted to really put it to the metal, you know, really try it out this time so we leave nothing on the table. And I think I've done that. I think we can draw some conclusions here that I can stand firm on. Because last time we did use plastic, we used wood for safety reasons.
Yep, which is true. And I feel like a couple of the opinions that I had are still the same, which is I would rather have one, have some loose chain, something to block with, and something to hit and distract my opponent.
Yes.
Which is fine, but them throwing them, my opinion,
that's the biggest
changed.
change.
Yeah,
yes.
Because now it went from having a sword and trying to defend, where if I hit dead on, it's fine. If I hit a little behind, it's fine. This now changes with this amount of weight. If I hit perfectly, sure, you've got no kinetic linking, and I'm good.
Something to mention, it didn't even need to hit on the edge though.
No.
Because there's so much weight and force behind these things. You can hit with the flat of the blade, and that is a perfectly valid strike.
But if I hit perfectly, it's fine. I have no kinetic, or you have no kinetic linking and it's blocked, but I need to be perfect. If I hit here, I'm done. I am done. That is going to swing around now at an accelerated speed and hit me, or just catch up on my weapon.
Yeah.
So I
still had issues with the two blades, the same as last time. I tried to remedy that at least somewhat by alternating the lengths, so hopefully they wouldn't get as caught as much. Didn't work, but yeah,
we had the med kit on standby. Don't worry.
We did have all fire safety. We have fire extinguishers, fire blankets, water. I had Nate fully on fire duty today. You're the fire marshal.
I was today.
But that is not all that I had with me today. I had my awesome cameraman Nathan and Marcus. These two guys helped me immensely along with Nate on today's episode. This is the season finale of Screen Tested, and this one was a monster. This one was a monster, and this one was terrifying. So having all of these guys here to help me was genuinely a massive help. I couldn't have done this by myself. So thank you guys for helping. I'll leave all their channels here so you can check all of them out, even when they don't upload. Even when they don't upload, I'll leave all the channels here so you can check them out.
I appreciate it. You're buying lunch, right, after all this?
Yeah, all right.
Where are you going lunch?
Let's head back to the studio for final thoughts. Starting off with something simple. I think some people might have thought that these things would actually travel edge on. However, because they're very unaerodynamic, if that's a word, they kind of just flail about. Now, in terms of using them the way that Kratos does in the games, using one I found to be the perfect sweet spot. It was controllable, it was kind of useful, you could throw it, you could spin it, you could bring it back. Now, bringing it back wasn't as fast as in the games because he uses magic, but it was still doable. And then I found having that second one in reserve once you throw the first one to follow up with another strike could be really practical and really useful. The issue came when I was trying to use two simultaneously. It requires a lot of concentration and it's quite difficult. Maybe it's one of those things that if you really trained, you could get the hang of it, but for the most part, that's where I stand on it, right? One, kind of the sweet spot, having the second one as a backup. Using two simultaneously, a little bit harder. However, in terms of recreating things one-to-one, I think I was able to get pretty close. You know, I think it was a good attempt for the most part, especially since these things weigh about 1.6 kilos. I'm not sure what that is in freedom units. I'll leave a conversion somewhere. But on the topic of weight, they actually were very heavy throughout the day because I had to strap into them. I couldn't take them off. I had to keep them on for hours on end, which was also another issue because when you would throw them, they would pull right on the wrist and right on the bone. Now, I was wearing my thick gambeson, I was wearing very thick leather, braces here, but even those couldn't mitigate that damage you would receive every time you threw them out. It hurt, right? But for the most part, I think these things were very good, and I'm very happy that I did a follow-up on this because I feel like it has changed my mind immensely since the first time that I've done this. These things were awesome. One, really good. Two, not so much, but using them as, the Blades of Chaos, swinging them around, especially one, is very viable and very cool, especially. So that is pretty much everything for the Blades of Chaos. Thank you guys for watching. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. This is the season finale. And what a way to end it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of today's episode. Remember to like and subscribe, and hit that little bell down below if you want to get notified every time a new episode is out, because I try to keep them all as awesome as this one, but this one I put a little bit of extra love into, because I'm very happy that I finally got around to doing it. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you in another episode. Have a good one. Bye bye, guys.